Hey, Chris Hagan. It was 23 degrees outside. It was like 7 degrees this morning. And as you can see, I'm out in front of the Beyond Van Gogh here in the Clayton area. There's the Galleria over there. I love cold weather, so great day to be alive. Not a cloud in the sky. The sun's out. Just beautiful day. I just did the Van Gogh immersive experience. This is not free. It's about $55 a person, or at least for an adult that's not a senior citizen anyway. So I was in Amsterdam several years ago. Lots of art in the Netherlands, and most of the famous painters are Dutch. So Dutch, Holland, Netherlands, it's all the same country, it's all the same people. And I was not a huge fan of Vincent Van Gogh till I went to the Van Gogh Museum. And give you an idea, he died in 1890. His younger brother Theo, or we call him Theo, died in 1891, just a year behind. And one of the things I loved about, there's just so many things I love about Vincent Van Gogh. It's just incredible. And the true hero in the entire story is Theo's wife, Johanna, because Vincent never sold a painting. Technically he sold one painting, and his brother was the one basically that bought the painting. And he had done over 2,000 pieces of artwork between drawings and sketches and the different paintings and stuff. And but Johanna kept everything, and she's the one a few years later when his art became in style. And when you think about Vincent Van Gogh, what I want you to think about is he was like the first person to do the electric guitar, all right? But at the time, everybody hated the electric guitar. So, obviously, whenever they came out with electric guitar, people loved it. But his art and everything was not an immediate hit. And a lot of the other paintings like Gauguin and Monet, their stuff took a while to catch on because it was just so new and everything else. But Vincent obviously had some issues. He had a horrible relationship with his father, massively verbally abusive. His younger brother Theo became much more than a brother, was almost like a father figure to him. And then you've got the way the history talks about Vincent Van Gogh. And we'll start off with he cut his ear off. So what does that mean? Did he cut his entire ear off, or did he cut part of his ear off? And most people believe he just cut off part of his ear. Second is that he committed suicide. And the way the gunshot went was it went through the upper abdomen at a lower level coming up. So there's lots of theories that there was a young man in town that actually shot him. He was a little depressed, down on himself, had some other issues, and basically did not want the young man to get in trouble, and then died. So those are two controversial things that different people have different opinions on. But the artwork is not something that people have a problem with, because here's a guy, by all standards, he was a failure at everything that he did. He did all this artwork. A lot of people have done lots of artwork only to have their loved ones throw it away or paint over it or do different things with it. But Johanna kept all the artwork, making him, one of the most successful artists. Again, he died in 1890. Leonardo da Vinci's paintings was from the 14th century. And if you think, okay, who's a famous artist today, 2021, you probably can't name one. Now, in St. Louis, it's closed right now because of all their employees got COVID, or a bunch of them do. But the St. Louis Art Museum's got several Van Gogh paintings, and it even has one of the early paintings, which is called the Potato Eater. And that was kind of what everybody was painting. Vincent was poor, so he couldn't paint a model. He was not a famous painter, so no one would commission him to do a portrait. So he would just do paintings of basically peasants. And he had their hands were big and tired because they just worked so hard, and their faces were kind of swollen, and people thought that it was like a caricature, but it wasn't really a caricature. He had a little bit more to it than was actually there, but he had a great deal of empathy, and I think that if we knew Vincent, we would say today that if he had a little bit of medication, he probably would have gotten along, really well. But he didn't, and had a troubled life. And he's a fascinating character. But anybody that goes through anything of adversity, Vincent Van Gogh's a great guy because he really stuck it out. And if you are like me and believe that he was shot and murdered, not necessarily murdered, but shot by a little kid that just didn't necessarily know any better, and you take the suicide out of it, he actually becomes one of the greatest human beings of all time, whose life was cut very, very short. Claude Monet was born way before Vincent Van Gogh and didn't die until like 1925. So the art is history, but it's still relatively real history. Again, I don't know how long this is going to stay here in St. Louis, but the St. Louis Art Museum has got lots of Vincent Van Goghs. In fact, it's actually pronounced Van Gogh, or something like that. Anyway, I won't get into that. But hey, it's here. Again, it wasn't free. Like I tell everybody, I'm triple vaxxed. I'm tired of staying home. We're getting out and traveling. If you like it, press like and share. Thank you. Hey, I'm back again. Again, my favorite artist is Vincent Van Gogh. Here we go. Most of the famous paintings that he did was right there around 1888 to 1890. And the room we're at here at the St. Louis Art Museum, and again, it's free to come to the art museum. You get to look at these priceless pieces of art. Again, Vincent Van Gogh never, ever, ever sold a painting. Technically, he sold one, but everybody believes that his brother was the one that bought it. But check out the strokes. He didn't necessarily paint what he saw. He painted what he felt. And again, nobody liked it then, but everybody loves it now. One of the paintings that I was looking for was the Potato Eater painting, and it kind of showed the despair and stuff in people's faces. Here he was so much worried about the industrialization, so you get to see the smokestacks and everything, and it puts it in a little bit of a different light. And here you just have 1887. He has the fruit and everything. But let's go back over to this one over here, okay? And what I want you to do is you look at the brush strokes, all right? And then I'm gonna bring you over here at the St. Louis Art Museum and show you this. The Claude Monets. Now, Monet and Van Gogh were basically the same age, but instead of having the big, bold brush strokes, he had the smaller, dotted brush strokes. Here's one of the Claudes that had some bigger brush strokes. And these guys were like the Beatles of their time. If you can imagine the Beatles not getting real famous. Now this is a great one here because this painting was done in 1903. And by that time, he had started developing cataracts and stuff. So he painted what he saw, and it got to be a lot darker. And one of my points is we walk back over here to the Van Gogh. And the reason, today is the first day they've reopened the art museum because a bunch of people that worked here had COVID. The thing about Van Gogh, and everybody has to remember this, is he was considered a complete failure. No one wanted to buy his artwork. But his sister-in-law, because right after Vincent died in 1890, Theo died in 1891, but Johanna kept all of Vincent's artwork. This painting that you're looking at, that I'm literally a foot or two away from at the St. Louis Art Museum. This is easily $100 million painting. And what I want to tell everybody is if you feel like you're a failure, so did Vincent Van Gogh. And this one painting is worth $100 million. So don't ever feel like a failure. You can feel misunderstood, but don't feel like a failure. So if you get the opportunity, the St. Louis Art Museum, to me, if you come to St. Louis, you got to go to the Arch, you got to come to the St. Louis Art Museum, and you got to go to a Cardinal game in that order. So with that, I'm just going to say enjoy the videos, press like, press share. If you ever feel like a failure, just remember Vincent Van Gogh, all right? Again, he didn't commit suicide, in my opinion. He was shot in the abdomen. Coming up, you don't shoot yourself like that. He didn't cut off his ear, he cut off his earlobe and part of his ear, so he was misunderstood. He needed Prozac or something, obviously. But to me, one of the greatest failures in humanity is also one of the hugest successes. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.